okay, you're going to find this, what just happened. It's amazing that you just called me right now. I can't wait to tell you what just happened.
This is Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. Those moments when heaven and earth collide. And we see God. We see His hand reaching out to us, attempting to get our attention, inviting us into a closer relationship. Here we share stories of encounter with angels, divine intervention, prophetic dreams, visions, near-death experiences, big and little God incidents. I'm your host, Trapper Jack. So glad you're here. Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to episode 69 of Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God. Great stories again today. I mean, what are the odds? Just what are the odds that two people in the same week, both 27 years old, both from the great state of Texas, both would contact me with stories about how grandparents contacted them from heaven, letting them know they were just fine. They're fun stories, they're great stories, and fortifying. But something else has been going on this week I want to start with. This has been an interesting week. And you may want to try something that I am now trying because of this past week. Yesterday, as I post this, was July 31st, 2019, the feast day of St. Ignatius of Loyola. Who is he? I couldn't have told you. Little bits and pieces, but not a whole lot. But I just kept bumping into Ignatius this week. What do I mean by that? Running into articles, blogs, videos, talks about Ignatius, you know? So I start reading a little bit, then watching a little bit of this and listening a little bit to that. And it's like, okay, so I got a pretty good overview of St. Ignatius of Loyola and his impact on the world, which is pretty profound right now. So, and I'll tell you why. But here's what captured me. His story is quite remarkable. Born in the late 1400s, but in the 1500s, young guy in his 20s, good-looking guy, looked good in his uniform. Yes, he was an army man. He was a soldier in Spain, and he loved it. He loved being a soldier. He loved going up in rank. He loved the glory of war. He loved the women involved that thought he looked good in a uniform. And he was caught up in all of it. He loved being a guy, you know, basically, and a soldier. Loved it all. Loved all the trappings of it. So when he was about, I think it was 26 or so, he's in a battle in Pamplona, and he takes a cannonball to the leg, shatters his leg. It's going to lay him up for a long time. Doctors set the leg not well, and so he's got like a bone sticking out around the knee, and it doesn't look good. So this is where he was. He just kind of went, I don't like that sticking out. I don't look good in my uniform. I don't look good for the ladies. This isn't right. So he says, doctor, saw it off. See that bone sticking out there? Just saw it off. There's no anesthesia. And I was reading that he just handled it with clenched fists, clenched teeth, and just saw it off, you know. So he was going to have a long time for recovery, and it was inside this cave where he and others were. And so while he was rehabbing, shall we say, he asked for reading material. What do you want to read? Well, I like to read. He basically asked for romance novels, is what he did. You know, the hero, the swashbuckler, the women, all of that. Give me some of that romance novel stuff. And we don't have any of that. All we have here is a book about Jesus and a book about the saints. Thanks. That's great. So he starts reading it. And he was kind of fascinated. Life of Saints. He was kind of fascinating. Meanwhile, in his real life, okay, he still wants to be a soldier, and there's actually this one woman that he's very attracted to. Sounds like she might have been in a little higher state than he was, probably a little out of his league, so to speak. But he fantasized about her and more glory in war and all these things. But he noticed something. He noticed that when he thought about war and the glory and the girl and all of that, it was very exciting. He really got into it. It was exciting, this, you know, fantasizing, daydreaming about all that. But afterwards, he felt depressed, kind of uncomfortable, kind of, that's something not quite right. Whereas he noticed that when he was reading about the saints and their life, he kind of got wrapped up in that too. He kind of fantasized again. What if that was me doing that and that and that? And he kind of fantasized about that, and he noticed that it was a very exciting also. This was also a very exciting daydream and fantasizing. And he noticed something else, that after he stopped fantasizing, that he didn't get depressed. He kind of stayed up there in that exhilarated, contented, good place. And he had a thought. He knew that when he was in that place, he was connected to God. Now, he grew up, as just about everybody did in Spain, as a Catholic, but he wasn't really connected to it. Didn't mean that much to him, just that, you know, he was Catholic. But he was suddenly starting to understand that when he was in this certain place, he was with God. It was about God. He was connected to God. And he was also noticing these other times when he wasn't feeling like that he associated with not being with God, with being with the devil for all intents and purposes, and that every thought was either coming from God or it was coming from the devil. He called it discerning spirits. There were good spirits and evil spirits, and either I'm with God or I'm with the devil. And he cut it right down the line. There was no in between. And he started just being aware of every thought that passed through his mind during the course of a day, of every action. Am I with God? Am I with the devil? Am I with God or not with God? And he started doing something. First, he had to be aware of it, understand it. Where was this coming from? Where was this thought coming from? Where was this action coming from? What am I doing right now? Am I with God or not with God? And he started detaching from anything that was not of God. Just detaching. That's not important to me. Why would that be important to me? And he would just detach. He would get rid of it. I'm either with God or not, and I want to be with God. To me, I'll tell you what comes to mind. You saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind, right? That movie? Richard Dreyfuss, right? So he has this encounter, which is what Ignatius had. Somewhere in there was an encounter with God, this understanding of being with him or excluding him, with him or away from him. It's kind of like that. So here's Richard Dreyfuss. He has that encounter where he's in his truck and the spaceship is above him, kind of zaps him. That's his encounter moment, right? And he's infused with something, this drive. It's an invitation to go somewhere. It's a drive. He sees, he has a pile of mashed potatoes on his plate. And what's he do? He wants to take the top off a little bit and fork marks down the side. And what was he doing? He doesn't know it yet. But he was being drawn to what's it called? Devil's Tower in Wyoming. And so it's like he was stripping away in that pile of mashed potatoes, anything that didn't look quite right, he was taking it away. Then he starts building Devil's Tower without realizing it's Devil's Tower yet in his living room. Remember, he's got a big pile of dirt and fencing and bushes. He's just taking away anything that doesn't look like Devil's Tower. He has this calling, and then he finally realizes that's where he has to go. And then he's in the car with his neighbor who also has this invitation to go to Devil's Tower. And he's like this. He's in the car and he's like salmon going upstream. He's got to get there. He's got to know more. He's got to know. It consumes him. And for Ignatius, it was God that was consuming him. I have to know. I have to strip away everything else to know him better. I have to be with God. I have to understand how he thinks. Why does he do what he did? How is it Jesus loved us that much? He just strips away everything that is not of God. Everything. Richard Dreyfuss, same thing. Stripping it away. Just that I still see him in the living room, just tearing apart that mountain and taking the top off until it looked like Devil's Tower. All consuming. So Ignatius began developing something that was already out there in the culture, but he took it to a higher level. This ongoing, everyday, be aware, understand the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, what's it connected to, disconnect from this world. You still have to live here, but disconnecting from this world. And what did that lead to? It led to an order of priests called the Jesuits. He started that. It led to Ignatian Exercises. He's actually the patron saint of retreats because that's where you go and reflect and meditate and pray. And there are 30-day retreats of the Ignatian Exercises, or you can take it in bits and pieces, a few days here and there. But very popular within the Catholic Church are Ignatian Exercises, again, to separate what is not of God, what is of God, and of just reminding ourselves of where we're supposed to be in our minds, right, with God. Discerning spirits, good spirits, bad spirits, turning away from that which doesn't matter because I just want to be with God. So perhaps an interesting little exercise during the course of your day. Am I with the good spirits or the evil spirits? Am I with God or not? Connected to God or not? As in thoughts, in deeds, in actions. I'm on Facebook now. Am I with God? Oh yeah, there's a lot of God there. Oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. Oh, interesting. I was just looking up, why is it called Devil's Tower? Interesting irony there, Devil's Tower. Why is that called Devil's Tower? Apparently a bad translation. Native Americans called it Bear Lodge, something to do with bears. Anyway, So a white man go and check it out, and they come back with, they call it Bad God's Lodge or Bad God's Tower. Bad Gods. See, there again, good spirits, bad spirits, bad gods. They call it Bad God's Tower, so that got then translated from Bad Gods into Devil's Tower with an apostrophe S. Then it lost the apostrophe, so now it's without the apostrophe. Now some have, through the years, tried to change the name. They don't like it, but it is what it is. Devil's Tower. All right, let's move from Bear Lodge in Wyoming down to our tales from Texas and messages from grandparents that they're just fine. They're in heaven and everything's just fine. And this time, they're not sending messages through coins. This time, it's through cars and televisions. This is interesting. It seems the default position is coins, doesn't it? You listen to these episodes, how many times do we hear about coins? I started finding pennies everywhere, even where they weren't a second before. I started finding dimes and all that. It's like when people go to heaven, they're told, well, so-and-so back home needs to know that you're okay. Okay. Well, you can send them a sign. Oh, how do I do that? Coins are very popular. Coin? Yeah. Do they just start appearing out of nowhere? You know, pennies, dimes, pick one, you know, that kind of thing. Can I do something else like leave all the cupboard doors in the kitchen open? No, then they think it's a ghost. Okay, let me check the box with the coins. That's fine, whatever, you know. But this time, no, cars and televisions. Let's start with Ryan. Where are you, Ryan?
I'm in Houston, Texas.
All right.
I'm 27 years old. I got two kids, two-year-old, 4-year-old, and I got my wife. So I've always believed that, you know, God is definitely here. We're not here just for giggles and laughs, you know. My grandfather, Papa Jack, he lived a tough life. You know, he had he couldn't really do much. I think he had some mental problems. He's paranoid, stuff like that. But so he passed away on April 1st, 2019.
A couple of days after Ryan's grandfather passed away, Ryan and Ryan's mom went over to the grandfather's house to get pictures for the wake and the funeral. And Ryan needed to get something out of the garage, but the door between the house and the garage was locked. He needs the keys. Where are the keys?
So I'm like, Mom, where's the keys at? They're on the counter. I grab the keys. I put the keys in the door to go to the garage. I leave the keys in the door, right? Walk in, take 3 steps, and the car goes off. 2 flashing lights with it. Beep, beep. I stopped just like that.
That was very good, by the way. You impersonate. What kind of car was that, by the way? What kind of car are we talking?
2000 Toyota Camry. A 2000 Toyota Camry, old car.
Okay.
I stop in my tracks, and my mom is in the kitchen. I was like, Mom, did you hear that? Yeah, what was that? So the car just went off. And I kind of walk out of the garage. I can see her. She's at the kitchen table looking at pictures, trying to find pictures for the funeral. And I take 3 more steps back in the garage. Beep, beep. And at that moment, I just stopped in my tracks again and just, obviously chills ran up down my spine. And I just said, "Hi, Papa. I love you, Papa." And so I stopped in my tracks. At that time, my aunt walks in the front door because she's coming to help us find pictures. And she gets right by the door. And I'm kind of explaining to her. I'm kind of still stuck in my tracks. Beep, beep. Again.
Okay.
And, it wasn't a scary feeling. It was just like, wow. And to tell you the truth, it took a while till I really understood what happened. It took a few days till it soaked in about how incredibly amazing that is. You can't give me an explanation for. You can tell me the car battery's dead, whatever you want to say. You just really can't. You really can't explain that.
Yeah, you try to understand. Yeah, I agree. I mean, you could go, well, let's see, maybe the key itself, its battery was running low, and that's how it signals that the battery. But.
No, I know what it was.
Yeah.
And, people that don't believe in that kind of stuff or whatever.
They don't understand the conversation that's going on with heaven, with God, Jesus, loved ones.
They have no idea.
Now, let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Because, there's a difference between heavenly messages and ghost messages. So what makes you think heaven versus you got a ghost in the house?
Uh, well, because my grandfather passed away 2 days prior in that house, and for one, my picture was all over his house. He loved me dearly, very much. Put it this way, he got remarried because my grandmother died in '99 or '99. He got remarried in 2015. I was his best man in his wedding. So if that tells you anything, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I was his man. I was his best man in his wedding. He could have picked anybody, right?
Yeah. I think you had your grandfather there, no question. I think so, or his angel, or something like that. Yeah.
And I got chills right now. That really was a big experience for me.
More with Ryan is coming up. And you know what many people don't know is that the 2009 Toyota Camry came complete with the optional horn honk flashing light when someone comes near me after I've passed away feature. It was $150 that year. Yeah. Yeah. And there is that somewhat similar story from Cassidy a little down the road.
Hello.
Hey, there she is. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Very good. Dallas, eh?
Dallas, yes.
Hey, how come you don't have a Dallas accent?
I'm from West Texas, like Lubbock area, near New Mexico.
No accents over there, huh?
Oh, no, the accents are so strong, very southern drawl, and I tried so hard to not have an accent that now I just don't have one.
I wouldn't say you're a complete Nebraska, but you're, I wouldn't have guessed Texas. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So you've been kind of hanging on to some stuff that you finally decided to talk about.
It's been on my heart a lot to write in, but just getting up the courage to finally write in didn't happen until a few days ago, and then here we are. I grew up in my family, I'm in the Bible Belt, didn't really go to church very often, wasn't very involved, but called ourselves Christians. And then I would go to church with friends every now and then, but it was more of a social thing. I didn't really have faith, and I didn't have the relationship that I have with the Lord now. My grandma, who I have the dreams about and everything, she was the most faithful woman I have ever met in my entire life. Her relationship with the Lord was beautiful, and I strive to have faith like hers.
What did she do to make it real? What was it?
She never said a bad word about anyone. Was so unconditionally loving of everyone she came across, always helped others in any way she could, just really was an example of the love of Christ, and always pointed you back to the Lord, and just such a faithful woman.
Unfortunately, when Cassidy was 18, her grandmother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and she passed away right around the time Cassidy was turning 19.
I didn't even know if I believed in God, so it was a really difficult time for me, and I didn't know how to handle it, and I didn't understand why she was going through something like this when she had such a relationship with God. I didn't understand. I felt like she was being punished. So fast forward about 6 months after she's passed away at this point, and again, I'm still, not sure where I'm at in my faith, and I'm laying in bed one night just hysterically crying, and I had my TV in my bedroom on, and, I'm in the middle of crying, it turns off, and I turn it back on. So I go back to crying, it turns itself off a second time, I turn it back on, go back to crying. I'm a little weirded out at this point, but, keep doing my thing. And then it turns off a third time. And then I was like pretty freaked out, just because it had never done that. And then I kind of calmed down and went to sleep. And then maybe about a year later, I kind of find myself in the same situation. I had just been thinking about her and missing her, and in my bedroom trying to go to sleep. I have the TV on and thinking about her, start crying again, and the same exact series of events happen. I'm crying, the TV turns off, and I immediately was like, well, that's weird, but I'm gonna turn it back on. Second time it happens, and I start thinking, like, surely this is just a fluke. Like, this can't be. So go back to crying. It happens a third time, and then I just got the biggest smile across my face, and I was like, okay, I get it. I'll stop crying. There's no need for me to cry.
And in between those two times, it never did that.
No, and it has not done it since. I still have the TV, and and I, for a while, I couldn't decide, if I felt like it was my grandma trying to get the point across, but the more my relationship with the Lord has grown, I think that was him telling me, hey, she's fine. She's with me. You can stop crying for her.
Oh, you obviously had such a great relationship with her. That's awesome. Because otherwise, I mean, all I'm hearing is you're crying. You're crying a lot over this woman. You're just crying,
Yeah.
So That's awesome. That's awesome. What a beautiful God we have to allow that message to get through so beautifully.
Yes.
Thanks, Cassidy. And maybe what your grandmother was really doing was making a commentary about television. Between being on or off, she turned it off 6 times. I mean, really. Just saying, just saying. And I'm sure she's very proud of you, Cassidy. It's been a bumpy road, but Cassidy, from those difficult no-God years of the teen years, she's found her way back to God at age 27 now. It took me a lot longer, Cassidy. It took me a lot longer. Let's get back to Ryan for a second here. He's had some other interesting experiences. One just in the last month or 6 weeks or so, when he and his wife had traveled to Cancun, Mexico, a little vacation time. There they are on the beach. Oh, and she just got herself kind of inexpensive little ankle bracelet thing, about $5. Then they went for a walk along the beach, and
waves are crashing in, and the waves crashed in, and her ankle bracelet, it went away. It came off her ankle and went into the ocean, and okay, it's gone. Whatever. She was, she didn't like to see it go. She liked that $5 ankle bracelet she just bought, and so we just kept on walking from about 30 yards down the beach, and she stopped, and she said, God is good. Look how beautiful this is. And as soon as she said that, that ankle bracelet washed up to shore right next to her foot. It was the most, it was like how we were just like jaws dropped, like, oh my goodness. How is that even? You know what I mean? That's just ridiculous.
That is 30 yards down the beach, and then, let me give it back to you. That's beautiful. That's gorgeous.
It really was. And, oh man, I mean, just little things like that, little things happen. You just people just don't understand, but just gotta open your eyes up. Like you say, you say it the best, Trapper.
He's talking to us, isn't he? He's talking to us.
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. But so people, even the ones that have zero faith, for example, I put a sticker on my locker at work. Everybody has stickers on their locker, right? But I put a verse on my locker. It said, pray for those. I forget which one. It's Luke. It said, pray for those who mistreat you, or it's a Bible verse. And you just be amazed, little things like that, how many people notice it, It's just it's like God's trying to talk to these people. Like their eye catches it. Why are y'all noticing this verse? Like there's stickers all over everybody's locker, but you're taught, they question me, not in a bad way, but they just acknowledge and notice it. Probably don't even pray, but they notice it. Why does your eye catch that sticker, huh? You know what I mean?
Interesting that Ryan mentioned the Bible verse on his locker that everyone was noticing, because yesterday Ryan sent me a text, and at the end he put a Bible verse that nailed me between the eyes. You don't know this, Ryan, but you nailed me between the eyes. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. They're usually seen together. Why? Well, it's partly because of me and just some recent things, but also because, again, going back to Ignatius, what's of God and what is not when making decisions. So Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 says, trust in God, trust in the Lord with your entire heart, and don't lean on your own understandings. You're going to trust yourself, really? So you don't trust yourself, you trust in the Lord. Okay, that's part one of this. But the second part, verse 6, it says acknowledge God. It's bigger than acknowledge. Hey, how you doing, God? Look good in the outfit. You know, it's not current day acknowledging. What it means, what it translates to is seek his will. Seek God's will. And then the path will clear. The road clears. The decision clears. You know what you have to do? You have to ask God, because he's not always giving you an answer to everything. Sometimes you're supposed to ask, Trapper, because I didn't a while back. I did a real dumb thing recently. This is an example of why every day you have to be so aware, and understand and look at it, then take action. Okay, I've been speaking in churches, giving the presentation. Did you hear what God just said about hearing God's voice in our daily lives? Because he's talking to me and you and the church and the world. He's talking to everybody, you know. And it's gone really well. And afterwards, people would always come up and say, is this available? Can we buy this? What? And it's like, not yet. And then we finally took the hint and made a CD out of it. And sure enough, the last talk, we finally had a CD, and a third of the people left with CDs. I mean, that's a great percentage. That's wonderful. And then, so that's good. So that's confirmation that, yes, we got the nudge in the right direction, doing God's will. Yeah, that's great. And then I went deaf because I then said, well, let's put it on our website now, you know, trapperjackspeaks.com. They'll be able to download it. And let's not get into the mail order business and you know, have to send these things out. Heavens, no. Did I ask God? No, and that's something I should have asked, because what happens is as soon as we make it as a download, we start getting more requests for the CD themselves. Could you ship it to us? And it's like, oh, so now we got to go back and fix that. And we are going to fix that. So very soon here, when you go to trapperjackspeaks.com, whether you want to download Did You Hear What God Just Said, or happy to send you CDs, multiple CDs, as is usually the case, because people want to hand them out like candy to people who need to hear about how God is speaking to us. So thank you, Ryan, for the Between the Eyes Proverbs shot. Thank you so much. I'm going to finish up here with Ryan once again, because he was funny. On the day I called him, normally when someone contacts me and says they have a story, I say, you know, we kind of go back and forth with the emails, okay, when you're available kind of thing. This particular case, I didn't do that. I just called. He included a phone number, so I just called him out of the blue.
You're going to find this, what just happened. It's amazing that you just called me right now. I can't wait to tell you what just happened. I found your podcast today, right? I heard in your podcast what you said about the Bible Roulette, right? You said that in one of your episodes that I picked. So right now, I said to myself, well, that's a good idea, because there's a house that I'm wanting to buy. It's kind of a farther away from where I live now. And, you know, I'm having a tough time making the decision if it's the right thing to do. So I said a prayer. I said, Lord, give me a sign if it's okay to buy the house. So that's when I just picked the page, like you said, Bible Roulette, and I'm looking for the word house. You know, that's what the prayer was about. And I picked the page and I highlighted every time it said the word house, but it said the word house 12 times
on one page,
on two pages, on the page I opened, the left and the right of the page. So I told all the guys at work, right? Two other guys just before right when you just called me, they just did the same thing, right? One guy said 3, and the others said 2, only 2.
It's the frequency of it that got you.
Absolutely, it says it literally 12 times on the Bible Roulette. And I can't believe I'm actually talking to you, telling you this right as we speak. That just goes to show you, I can't express to you this how weird this is right now. That
call was actually weeks ago, right? So as I'm about to put together the podcast, I'm thinking, I wonder if you got the house. So I sent him a text yesterday. Did you get the house after all was said and done? And he said, well, the only reason that house would have made sense is if my wife got a nursing position inside a certain school district, so that's where she wanted to get her job. So that's the only way that would make sense. And guess what? She got the job. It's like, oh, so did you get the house? Well, as it turns out, where she would actually be working isn't really all that far from where we live now, so we don't even have to move. Oh, so you didn't get the house. Well, actually, before she signed on the dotted line to take the gig, she was offered a better job in a different school district, even closer, better job. It's like the job from heaven. So just prayers answered, because he follows Proverbs. He follows Proverbs. He just keeps following. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with your entire heart. Don't lean on your own understandings. Go with the flow. Go with God. Seek his will, and that pathway will be open. Thank you, Ryan. You're a good teacher. You're a good teacher. What are the takeaways today? What did God just say? Well, he spoke very loudly with Proverbs. That's for sure. He speaks through Ignatius. Interesting exercise to go through the day. You'll find it very, very interesting, of being aware at all times of thoughts, of actions, of just everything. And is that of God or not of God? And could I detach from that? Do I want to detach from that which is not God? It's an interesting question all by itself. And if so, what goes first and second and third? It's an ongoing process. And to be only about God. That's a very interesting exercise itself. And what I'm going to do, if you get our email, I'm going to include a couple of links to more explanation of the St. Ignatius exercises and kind of the mindset of it all. So if you don't get our email, why don't you get our email? I mean, we send out some really cool stuff, links to things like this and also other Touched by Heaven moments, big global things. And just so if you want to sign up for our email and stay informed, just go to this episode 69 here at touchedbyheaven.net. Touchedbyheaven.net, episode 69. And there's a place to sign up there. And a reminder again to go to trapperjackspeaks.com. trapperjackspeaks.com. Download Did You Hear What God Just Said? Or coming soon, if it's not there when you get there, it will be the CD as well. Order as many as you would like. Okay, God says so. It's the thing to do. Thank you so much. See you next week here at Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. I'm Trapper Jack.